respectively. So this marks the beginning of the procedure, and as all of you know, it is a reaffirmation of the Parliament's commitment to the protection and promotion of human rights. By awarding this prize, the Parliament is honouring extraordinary individuals who, through their work and fight for human rights across the globe, all nominees should be commended and encouraged, as their bravery and dedication are a source of inspiration. We are seeing across the world an increase in attacks on the universality of human rights and democracy, in particular from totalitarian and authoritarian regimes, and this Parliament is determined to stand up for those that actively promote the values of our Union, often at great danger to their own lives, including the winner of the 2021 Sakharov Prize, Alexei Navalny, who was murdered in February this year and who sacrificed his life to defend democracy and oppose oppression and corruption in Russia. Colleagues, we have 7 admissible nominations have been received for the Sakharov Prize, and you have received short biographies of all of them. So, without further ado, I pass the floor to my colleague Irma Spate, Vice Chair of the AFET Committee, to lead the presentation of the nominees. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Dear colleagues, good morning. The Sakharov Prize is a powerful demonstration of the European Parliament's strong commitment to promoting human rights and freedoms of thought around the world. And as we all know, there are growing threats and attacks on democratic values worldwide, so it is crucial that we remain steadfast in supporting those who bravely defend the principles of the European Union stands for, often at the cost of their safety and freedom, sometimes also life. So we can now proceed with the presentations of this year's Sakharov Prize nominees. This will be, as per standard practice, done in alphabetical order. So each presentation is for a maximum of 5 minutes. In some cases, the speaking time is split among several members and/or a video. And so let's start with the first nominee, Edmundo González Urrutia from Venezuela, and is nominated by the ECR group. So I give the floor to Carlo Fidanza for your intervention, please.
Grazie, buongiorno.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Chairman, and good morning, colleagues. This morning I have the honour of presenting the candidate of the ECR for the Sakharov Prize of 2024. And this is the President-elect of Venezuela, Edmundo González Urrutia. Edmundo González is a politician, a diplomat, and as you know, he has been forced to ask for asylum in Spain after an arrest warrant that was issued by Maduro's regime. The President-elect, along with the leader of the democratic opposition, María Machado, is a shining light for the fight for democracy and for the best hope for the people of Venezuela. And María Corina was also, in fact, disqualified by the regime from standing after she became the leader of the unitary platform and was to stand as their candidate. Now, the Venezuela regime is breaking up all of the international conventions that it has signed. And Cordinar Orayas also was not allowed to stand. And Edmundo González was then chosen unanimously as the candidate for the unitary platform after what happened on the 28th of July last. If you look at events since then, 28th of July was the date of the presidential election, and the Venezuelan population rebelled against Maduro's regime and elected as its legitimate president Edmundo González Urrutia. In the hours following that, after the electoral body confirmed the win of incumbent President Maduro, there were protests across the streets and squares of Venezuela against the election fraud, against the stolen election by the regime. And the democratic opposition also published the results of many of the urns on a website. And in fact, the official results from the urns have never been published by the regime for obvious reasons, because they would have confirmed the electoral victory of Edmundo González. And we should all recall that these elections took place without international observers, and indeed without observers from the European Union or the European Parliament being present. Maduro and his allies responded to these demonstrations with extremely violent repression, using arbitrary arrests, arbitrary prosecutions, and a campaign that was called Operation Tuntun, to encourage people to denounce relatives, people they knew that took part in the protests, questioned the results of the election, or even just liked something on social media. A wave of violent repression was unleashed, which led to at least 27 people being killed. And then there were arrests and disappearances of more than 2,000 members of the opposition. The tragedy is still ongoing. There are serious violations of human rights, crimes against humanity, and the Machado regime is continuing to perpetrate these. Naturally, all of this led to a reaction from the international community. One way or another, we feel that it's the duty of this Parliament to do everything in its power to support the fight for freedom and democracy of the Venezuelan people. We need to do this now. We need to do this because there is a time frame, the 10th of January next, which is the date by which the transition must take place, with the new president taking office. So we need to do everything that we can to ensure that there actually is a democratic result, that the results of the election are recognized, and that Edmundo González becomes the next president. Parliament voted a resolution a couple of months ago, and we can support him, and we can support democracy in Venezuela by giving Edmundo González, Urrutia, and María Corina Machado as well, by giving them the Sakharov Prize for freedom of thought and democracy in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fidanza. And now we continue with the second nominee, Dr. Gubad Ibadoghlu from Azerbaijan, and nominated by the Greens EFA group. I give the floor to Caterina Vieira. Please, the floor is yours.
Many thanks. Dear colleagues, as the Greens EFA group, today we have nominated the Azerbaijani academic and prominent government critic, Gubad Ibadoghlu, for the 2024 Sakharov Prize. He currently faces 17 years of imprisonment for his research into corruption in Azerbaijan's fossil fuel industry. This parliament has called for his release in several urgency resolutions. Later on, through a video, his daughter Zala will detail her father's suffering following his arrest in July last year and what receiving this award would mean for him. However, awarding Dr. Ibadoghlu with the Sakharov Prize is also an opportunity for this parliament to speak out against Azerbaijan's intensifying human rights violations and cynical greenwashing of its image in the lead-up to the COP climate conference in Azerbaijan, which will take place this November. Awarding Dr. Ibadoghlu with the Sakharov Prize while Azerbaijan prepares to host COP29 would cast a much-needed global spotlight on Baku's inhumane treatment of over 300 political prisoners, including many critics of the corrupted fossil fuel industry that underpins the current dictatorship, and put pressure on the Commission to reconsider the EU energy trade with Azerbaijan. I would like to give the opportunity for the daughter of Dr. Ibadoghlu to address us via video, and I thank you for your attention.
Dear members of the European Parliament, today I am here to plea you to save my father's life with the help of Sakharov Prize. My dad, Dr. Gubad Ibadoghlu, is a professor of Dresden University of Technology. He's an academic, anti-corruption advocate, and fossil fuel industry critic. He established the initiative, a scholarship for students, first time the one that actually gets its funding from stolen asset recovery. He tried to recover the stolen assets of Azerbaijani people that has been stolen by Azerbaijani elites and is right now in various Western countries. He investigated money laundering of Azerbaijani delegations who are part of Euronest committee in European Parliament. He investigated EU allocated funds in Nagorno-Karabakh and how it has been embezzled by Azerbaijani government. My dad also investigated how Azerbaijani government has been helping Russia to avoid sanctions, how Azerbaijani government is using child labor in cotton production, and where also various important matters that are related to corruption, money laundering. When I actually compare my father's life to the Sakharov, I can see how similar they are. Both of them are professors who has been fighting for rule of law, democracy, and both of their families has been targeted. Like the Sakharov's wife, my mom was also detained several times. Our house also was raided. When my dad detained last year in 2023 July, he was actually together with my mom in the same car. Their car were crashed by police cars in between. They were physically dragged and tortured. The police several times hit on my mom's head. And as a result, now, my mom's on the right side of her brain, vestibular nerves, losses function. She's unable to balance herself and hospitalized several times. She's still living with consequences. Like the Sakharov, after being detained, my dad is also kept under police surveillance and the house arrest. But it wasn't enough for Azerbaijani government. They targeted all of us. My personal photos and pictures were spread around the internet. Me and my brothers are followed by Azerbaijani spies all around the Western countries. My little brother's room in New Jersey, in USA, was raided in a shared apartment with other American students. Only his room was destroyed, and now it's under investigation, FBI. Azerbaijani government is not only physically targeted us, but also conducted so many smear campaigns. They called us traitors. They called us spies for various places like Armenian diaspora, spies for Europe, and spies for USA. They used these smear campaigns to call us traitors because of our family's peace activism. And as you can see, my dad needs help because he's suffering from a heart disease. He had a heart surgery before his detention, and now because he was kept without access to drinkable water, proper food, any medical help, now he's suffering again, and he needs immediate heart surgery and be able to leave Azerbaijan. And that's where the Sakharov Prize comes. Sakharov Prize can save my father's life, and therefore I'm asking your help. Please, save my dad's life. Please, use the Sakharov Prize and the power of European Parliament and save my father's life. Thank you.
Thank you, Greens Group, for your candidate. And our third nominee is actually are journalists in Palestine, Hamza and Wael al-Taduh, Blesti al-Akkad, Shireen Abu Akleh, and Ein Media in honor of Yasser Murtaya and Roshdi Sarrai from Palestine, and nominated by the left group. So I give the floor to Rima Hassan for your statement. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Chairman. I hope that the day when I can look to the skies rather than the ground will come. I am a 30-year-old living in Gaza, and I've never travelled These are the words that actually accompany photos of Gaza that were taken in 2024. Yasser was actually affected by sniper bullets in Gaza. 7 other journalists were affected on the same day. Some of them continued their work as journalists. Now, in 2010, journalists started putting photos on Facebook. When people saw videos, they were astonished. They didn't actually know that Gaza could be so beautiful with its flowers and markets. On the 23rd of October 2023, when trying to protect his wife, his children, his family, Rushdie was actually killed by an Israeli bullet. He was the 9th journalist killed in 2 weeks. Now we're talking about more than 160 journalists having been killed in Gaza. Journalists are guarantors of freedom of expression. They're protected under international treaties, such as Article 79 of the Additional Protocol of the Geneva Convention, Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948, and Article 10 of the European Convention of Human Rights. These instruments, as well as the resolutions of the United Nations, ensure their safety, particularly in times of conflict, and recall the obligation of states to ensure freedom of expression. And yet, as in many other cases, Israel is violating international law and hasn't been sanctioned so far. Let's imagine the life of a journalist from Palestine. The Gaza siege has been in place since 2005, controls everybody who enters and leaves. If you want to get a camera, if you want to get a microphone, a computer, you have to go through this. Since 2023, internet has been controlled by Israel in Gaza. So it's difficult to share images with the world of what is going on. In the West Bank, raids are regularly carried out in villages, refugee camps, and even schools. You have to avoid bullets. You have to try to stay calm. You have to turn on your camera and show the world what's happening. Salina Boakle was murdered in May with a bullet to the head just above her press vest. Hamda Al-Shamsu, a 27-year-old journalist, was also killed by an Israeli bullet in January 2024 when he was in a car with his colleague Mustafa Abtaya. A couple of minutes later, his father, Wael al-Dardou, a journalist in Gaza, continued covering the bombardment of Gaza. Presta Al-Ajad, 22 years old, in October 2023, started to say what was happening in Gaza, and she had to flee the country. There are more than 4.5 million people who follow what she is saying online and on social networks. For the Sakharov Prize of 2024, we are therefore proposing journalists in Palestine. Some of them were killed before the start of the genocide in Gaza, like Shirin Abu Akleh. Others killed, targeted since October 2023, like Rushdie Sarah and Hamza al-Daou, and others who continue to fight so that we can have access to the truth, like Plestia Alakad and Wael al-Dardou. We would like to award the prize to all journalists working in conflict zones in Ukraine, in Mexico, in Palestine. But it's really in Palestine that 70% of journalists were killed in 2023, the most vicious year for journalists since the Second World War, according to the International Federation of Journalists. We welcome their courage, their commitment, their integrity, their commitment to reporting, no matter what the circumstances are, what the Palestinian people are living through, to a world that remains passive. I think we need to ask the question, what will our common future be if we accept the fact that those who are only armed with a camera are targeted? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hassan. And our next nominee is María Corina Machado as the leader of the democratic forces in Venezuela and President-elect Edmundo González Urrutia. representing all Venezuelans inside and outside the country, fighting for the reinstitution of freedom and democracy in Venezuela. Nominated by the EPP Group, so Mr. Gabriel Mato, floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Today I am proud to talk to you today about the cases of Edmundo González and María Machado. This is a case of a people who will not give in to tyranny. They haven't used violence and they are trying to free themselves pacifically. And they have seen over the past 20 years how their prosperity and freedom have been squashed by a government which has become a criminal organization within the country and has also made Venezuela a base for Putin's policy in Latin America. And in this parliament, we've always defended the need for democracy to reach Venezuela. But today we have the opportunity to go beyond resolutions and speeches. Our opportunity now at this time is to show proper support for the millions of Venezuelans who continue to defend democracy in their country at a very critical moment. There were elections held in which any opposition was prevented. They disqualified candidates from the opposition and they persecuted their teams. And María Corina and the democratic opposition were clear in their desire to defend Venezuela. But then, after she was disqualified, Edmundo González was made the candidate. And then there was an indisputable victory for the democratic opposition. But this has led to the re-election of Maduro, and he is refusing to produce the detailed results. But now the regime is using this election to suppress and repress the people in Venezuela. This has led to many deaths and many injuries in very few days. The Sakharov Prize embodies freedom of thought and respect for human rights. And I think that there is no better case really here. We're talking about a people that, despite all of the difficulties and all of the oppression and the crimes that the government is committing against them, continues to be a democratic one. They want to see change, yes, but they want to see a peaceful change. They want to do so at the ballot box and in the streets in peaceful conditions. No, and other people wouldn't have waged a campaign like this when any attempt to change things is repressed. Going out into the streets is something that has been done, and it's a way that María Corina has shown her bravery. We've seen arbitrary arrests, tortures, disappearances. And many people were arrested for simply looking for a better country, searching for a better country. María Corina Machado has had to go into hiding in her own country. They are trying to find her, but she continues fighting. She's a symbol of resistance and a desire for change for millions of Venezuelans. The democratic opposition in Venezuela has shown firm commitment to its goal, a democratic Venezuela and a free Venezuela. They've also shown that they are ready to keep this commitment in their methods. When other people would have opted for violence, they have managed to always do so by peaceful means. The regime is forcing the people into poverty and slavery. And the reason we need to award this prize to the Democrat opposition is because they embody exactly what the regime is not. Maduro's criminals have taken one of the most prosperous countries in Latin America and turned it into one of the poorest. It's become a criminal regime, and they've become allied with Russia. And they've done all this whilst shirking their responsibility and not serving the people of Venezuela. We need to show our firm support for the Venezuelan people. We need to support freedom and democracy. We need to support Edmundo and María Corina, because this is a critical moment. Now, especially, our support really can make the difference. We have the opportunity here to help the democratic opposition, and I firmly believe that in doing so, we will achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mato. Sorry, you have something to say?
Thank you, Chair. If I may ask about the proceeding, I realize I'm new MEP, so I don't know the procedure so well. I realized that we have two very similar proposals, the same idea, the same concept, democracy of Venezuela, and the same person. The EPP's proposal is a bit wider. How we are going to proceed in the future? Is it so that we are going to vote differently about these two, so that I could keep in mind, like, when I listen to new
Short answer is yes, because there are slight differences still in the proposals. One is with additional name comparing with the previous proposal. So the short answer is yes, different votes.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Chair, please. We proceed now with next nominee, and it's Mr. Elon Musk from the United States, nominated by the Patriots Group and also nominated by the ECN Group. So I give the floor to Mr. Thierry Mariani for your presentation, please.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you very much, Chairman. As the European Parliament website says, the Sakharov Prize honours people, groups and organisations that have made an exceptional contribution to defending freedom of thought. And this is why the Patriots for Europe group has given me the honourable task of presenting our candidate for the Sakharov Prize 2024. As a result, I suggest we award it to Elon Musk. He's a visionary entrepreneur, yes, of course, but he's also an ardent defender of freedom of expression. This is a fight that he is pursuing, and this is why we need to nominate him for the Sakharov Prize. He has shown to the world the serious problem of digital censorship. Since he bought Twitter in 2022, he has relentlessly tried to make the platform a place for free, independent debate. In 2024, he openly opposed cancel culture by re-establishing accounts that had previously been censored, saying that even the most controversial opinions must have a place in public debate. As a whistleblower, via the Twitter files, he's also denounced the censorship on other digital platforms, thereby underlining the need for transparency and the protection of users' rights. Musk has also always said that digital regulation should not become a tool for control, but a framework for protecting diversity of opinion. In addition to his action up for freedom of expression, he's also been very firm on the existential risks of radical Islamism and wokeism. With Starlink, he has also significantly reduced inequalities in access to information, especially for isolated communities and individuals. Colleagues, choosing Elon Musk for the Sakharov Prize 2024 means recognizing the freedom of expression is the foundation of all our democracies, and that this fight for this freedom is unfortunately a permanent battle now. This is important for our collective freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mariani. And also ESN Group has nominated Mr. Elon Musk from the United States. So, Mr. Alexander Sell, the floor is yours for your presentation. Is Mr. Sell here? Yes, please. The floor is yours. Mr. Mariani, sorry, can you turn off the micro then? We can proceed. Thank you.
Vielen Dank.
Thank you. Everyone has the right to freedom of expression, and this right means information without restrictions from the authorities. I assume that you all know the source of this quote, Articles 14 and Article 11 of the Charter of Fundamental Rights in the EU, and this is what people and the public expect. A month ago, the Commission wrote a letter to Elon Musk and saying that Musk must take effective measures to deal with illegal content on his platform. But what does harmful content actually mean? In the interview, this was about an interview between Musk and Donald Trump on his platform that would have been broadcast live. This was a discussion between a candidate for the American presidential election and Elon Musk. How can that be harmful? Why do we want to ban such a thing here in Europe? Well, the answer to that is easy. It's because those who have power in Europe they're afraid of different opinions, because they see this freedom of expression as a risk to their power. The Sakharov Prize is there for freedom of thought. In the Soviet Union, Sakharov was a dissident, but now you would say that he is spreading dangerous content. In 1968, he said that people need spiritual freedom and the freedom to receive and spread information, and the freedom to have discussions without fear, without authoritarian pressure. If we nominate somebody for the Sakharov Prize, we need to use Sakharov as an inspiration. And we therefore need the courage to have fearless debate. Elon Musk has that courage. He ignored the letter from Brussels. He's stopped censorship on Twitter. And millions of people across the world are able to express their opinion freely, and that is worthy of a prize. On behalf of the ESN Group, I therefore nominate Elon Musk for the Sakharov Prize 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sell, and we proceed with our sixth nominee, and it's Women Wage Peace and Women of the Sun from Israel, Palestine, and nominated by the Renew Group. And I give the floor to Sophie Wilmes, but as I understand, we start with short video, and then Ms. Wilmes will continue, please. Video.
אסור לשכוח שסכסוכים גדולים ומרים בעולם נפתרו, וזה יכול לקרות גם כאן.
We don't want to lose more children to this conflict.
نحن لا نريد غير حياة كريمة لأبنائنا.
Thank you, Mr. President, dear colleagues. Today, I would like to talk to you about peace, freedom, humanity, and women's rights. I would like to talk to you about two associations and the women behind them. One is called Women Wage Peace, and the other one is called Women of the Sun. One is Israeli, the other one is Palestinian. And these two associations know each other very well, as they've been working hand in hand since 2022, but they are both very active for longer than that. Today, these two associations are world-renowned through their two leading figures, Dr. Yael Admi and Reem Ajajra, who have both been featured by the BBC and Time magazine Woman of the Year. And they are also candidates for the Nobel Prize 2024. I had the great chance to meet Yael and Reem. During our conversation, I realized that standing before me were, above all, mothers, two mothers who have been found common and a very noble goal. The primary motivation of Yael and Reem, the primary motivation of all those women in this association, is to build a future of peace for their children, a future where everybody has equal rights, a future where everybody is safe. They do not come with a political solution. They do not impose a political agenda, because the need for peace and freedom goes beyond differences and political lines. These two associations also fight to strengthen women's role in conflict resolution, and when it comes from women of the sun, to empower women, enabling them to take their rightful place in society, in the political landscape of Palestine. And what I found extraordinary in their story is the strength and courage that has allowed them to put their cause above all else, despite the most painful events. On October 3rd, they were marching together in Jerusalem for peace. 4 days later, on October 7, Vivian Silver, one of the founders of Women Wage Peace, was brutally assassinated, like too many others, in the attacks. Since then, too many civilians, including children, have fallen during the war, and especially in Gaza. And despite their tremendous grief, these women have not given up on their commitment for peace, still working hand in hand. And for that, I do believe that they are true inspiration, and I think we do need that. The Sakharov Prize was designed to support people or entities that make an outstanding contribution to protect freedom and human rights. There is no better way to protect freedom than by pleading for peace, because there is no liberty when war is raging. When the easy choice is to stay silent, they choose to speak their truth. And I don't think I need to tell you how much good these women do for human rights through their work. To quote a famous saying, women's rights are human rights. Today, we have the power to put the spotlight on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with a strong and non-partisan message of peace and tolerance. It has been more than 20 years since the last Sakharov laureate linked to this conflict. Today, we have the power to make a difference by setting an example and honor women of dialogue, building bridges every single day, despite their daily struggle, despite all. This by supporting Women Wage Peace and Women of the Sun for the Sakharov Prize. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilmes. And we continue with next nominee, Women Wage Peace and Women of the Sun, and their co-founders, Yael Admi and Reem Hajaireh from Israel, Palestine, nominated by the S&D group. So first, as I understand, will be video, also from S&D group. Yes, and then Chloe Riedel, followed by Thijs Roten, have the floor, please.
Because we have our kids on the stage, our kids' lives on the stage. And so this is what we want to achieve, for the world to know that Palestinian and Israeli women are determined to bring peace to this land.
حاجتنا كمان إن نكون من صناع القرار السياسي، كمان هذا بالنسبة لنا حق شرعي.
And as women, we have to be in the decision making. We have this power to do it.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le groupe social.
Thank you, Chair. The S&D group has decided to nominate for the Sakharov Prize these two groups, Women Wage Peace and Women of the Sun. Women of the Sun is an independent Palestinian organization of women that regroups women and children from the West Bank, from Gaza, and from the Palestinian diaspora. Yela and me lives in the West Bank and has been exiled. However, her struggle has continued. Women of Peace is a Jewish, Arabic, Israeli association that also fights for peace. And as you saw in the video that was just projected, these two women's association, 3 days before the attacks of the 7th of October, protested together in the Gaza Strip. We would therefore like to reward their bravery to keep talking to each other, even in the face of great suffering. These women who are not great figures, who aren't lawyers, they are women, they are sisters, they are normal women, and they have the courage to keep speaking up, even if it means going against the communities and the repressive spirit reigning. And so they continue to fight for peace and justice in Israel and Palestine. We see that freedom for Palestine is a condition for the security of Israel. They're also sending out a pro-woman call saying that women have to have a unified voice and should be taken into account in peace negotiations. And now I will give the floor to my colleague, Thijs Rutten.
In addition to what my colleagues said, Ms. Wilmers and Ms. Riedel, I want to underline how important it is that these two organizations, Women of the Sun and Women Wage Peace, collaborated even when that was not evident, when it was not obvious to speak out. They promoted and supported peace even in these times when people say, oh, this is useless, don't do it. In the spirit of Sakharov, they spoke out when others didn't. And by awarding the Sakharov Prize to these two organizations and founders, we also acknowledge that in these dire times we see them and that we listen and that we also salute their courage and emphasize the need for women to have a lead role in the peace negotiations and in the reconstruction. We saw it just now in the clip. We need to be at the place of decision-making. And I think that it is important to underline that, especially now. And I respect very much, I repeat what my colleague Wilmers also said, this is a non-partisan nomination. And in the spirit of Sakharov, they collaborate, they spoke out. So I hope that the European Parliament will, by awarding the Sakharov Prize 2024 to these two organizations, once again stand with freedom, with women, and with peace. We nominate hereby the Women of Wage Peace and Women of the Sun. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear colleagues. We have now heard all of today's presentations on inspiring and courageous candidates. So now I will pass the floor to Munir Saturi, Chair of the DROA subcommittee, to take us through the exchange of views and also conclude the meeting. Please.
Merci, Urmas.
Thank you, Irmas. Thank you, Barry. It is an honor for me to be here with you this morning, and indeed it is now the time to open the floor to our colleagues, to whoever wants to take the floor. We have 8 minutes total for this exchange of views, so I would like to propose that each of you speak for a maximum of 1 minute and 30, and we'll start with the S&D group with Madame Maria Loron.
Chers collègues, merci.
Yes, good morning, dear colleagues. Thank you for presenting these different candidates for the Sakharov Prize. The S&D group chose to support the two organizations that were just presented, Women's Wage Peace and Women of the Sun, as well as their 2 representatives who are involved and committed to a peaceful resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the support of women in their territories. They fight on a daily basis to establish peace in these territories using their feminist instruments. It is an occasion here for the European Parliament to support women candidates and women prize winners, which has not been the case for a very, very long time. We are aware of the context in the Middle East, and therefore we would like to underscore the importance of supporting these candidates. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now I will give the floor to Diego. Yes, dear colleagues, we have many good candidacies here, many good nominations, and we support many of these causes, such as the struggle of the opposition in Venezuela. Anywhere in the world, we support this fight for freedom of speech and democracy and respect for fundamental rights. Our conviction is that Elon Musk regroups all and meets all of the criteria for the Sakharov Prize. Tyrants are attacking and banning X from Iran to China and in many other countries. But we know that X is much more than internet. It is freedom. It is democracy. Starlink was essential in providing internet access to the Ukrainian capital. And we know that the regime in Venezuela called Elon Musk public enemy #1, for example. The Sakharov Prize represents principles more than an individual. It represents the dignity of all of these struggles for freedom. Thank you. Thank you, dear colleague. Now, Alsan Ali for the Renew Group.
Dear esteemed chairs, 3 of you today, we are very spoiled. It's good to see you all, and good morning to you. I would like to, on behalf of Renew, to express our support for the nomination to the Sakharov Prize of Women, Wage, Peace, and Women of the Sun. And that's because I think it is very important now that the Parliament sends a united signal that we are taking part for the peace. And these organizations have, though it has been very difficult, it has divided us as a parliament, as a union, but also the entire world. But these women organizations, they have stood united for the peace, for security for all, for dignity for all. And I think it is very important that when the oldest conflict on earth is waging in a bloody war, that we from the Parliament side send this very important signal in support of these 2 organizations. Thank you so much.
Pour le groupe Left.
Isabel Sea for the Left.
Presidente.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to insist on the nomination for the Palestinian organizations, because the first victim of war is the truth, and there's not just a war in Palestine, there is a genocide, and yet Israel is still propagating sensationalist propaganda and to suppress the voice of Palestinians who are telling the truth in Gaza. There have been hundreds of journalists assassinated in Gaza in the last year, and Israel is working to prevent these horrendous, inhumane attacks from being known. And a few days ago, we saw Israeli military who surrounded the Al Jazeera headquarters in Gaza and saw how they were persecuting the entire people of Palestine. Other activists are jailed. They are still working to restrict freedom of expression and to restrict the defense of freedom and peace. When this ends, and if this ever ends, they are working so that it is remembered and that it never occurs again. This is our task. This is the task of Europe, to protect these rights and freedoms, because if we renounce these rights, then we renounce the human rights the world over. Thank you.
Alors, Monsieur Jean-Gun.
Mr. Jean-Gun from the ASN group, you will be the last speaker because all of the groups who requested the floor were able to do so, and then we will pass to the conclusion.
With the social network X, formerly Twitter, Elon Musk has created a new digital marketplace of ideas undermining the dominance of state media. Freedom of speech is under extreme pressure in the very countries where the principle was invented. Whenever governments, taxpayer-funded NGOs and the European Commission invoke the fight against what they call disinformation, it is a pretext. In fact, they want to continue spreading their own narratives, their own often disinformation, unhindered by critics. Official claims, for example, that the recent terror attack in Solingen in Germany has nothing to do with immigration, would remain uncontested on social media. The European Commission wants full control, as Breton's threatening letter to Elon Musk has demonstrated. But Musk is standing up to them, an action that requires a lot of courage. At a time of massive state censorship in the name of democracy, Elon Musk reminds us what freedom of speech and democracy are really about. Namely, it is not about everyone saying only what is generally accepted and considered good, but that unpleasant and even hurtful opinions must be allowed and tolerated too. Therefore, on the basis of these merits of freedom of expression, we as the ESN Group nominate Elon Musk for the Sakharov Prize. Thank you.
So in conclusion, I would like to thank all of the candidates and the MEPs who took part in the debate today. The Sakharov Prize is a testament to the unwavering commitment of the EU to defend human rights all over the world. It allows us to take stock of the different causes, but not to rank them. Our work will not end with the awarding the prizes. We will continue to support the candidates and their work. The tangible proofs of this commitment are many. Last week, an extraordinary meeting was held in support of Afghan women who were finalists for the 2021 Sakharov Prize. It was also the 10th anniversary of Ilan Tohti, a prisoner who was a beneficiary of the Sakharov Prize, and we would like to call for his unconditional release. The candidates who are presented today are the incarnation of human determination and of the power and of willpower, despite the dangers that they face and the current political climate harmful to the defense of human rights. They continue to fight for what is just, for what is dignified. The Sakharov Prize is a solemn reminder of the need to remain vigilant when it comes to our external actions, our defense of human rights, of safety, of trade, and of development. Thank you very much.
Merci, Munir. So, by way of conclusion of the meeting and for your information, the vote on shortlisting the 7 to 3 will take place on Thursday, the 17th of October in the morning, which will be a joint AFET and DEVA meeting. The following Thursday, the 24th of October, the Conference of Presidents will vote on the laureate or laureates. Then the laureates will be invited to an exchange of views at a joint meeting of AFET, DEVA and DROIT to be held in Strasbourg on Monday the 16th of December in the evening, with the award ceremony scheduled for Wednesday the 13th of December in plenary. So I want to thank the AFET and DROIT members for their presence today. This meeting is closed. The DEVA meeting will resume here in a few minutes' time, and thank you for your participation.